Welcome back to Exalted Warhammer, everybody, the channel where I teach you guys, as beginners, how to play Total War more effectively and win more battles. Specifically, in this video, we're going to be talking about meat shields. Now, there is this type of unit that has a trait called a meat shield. These things are useless in terms of damage output, but they're really important for soaking up damage. They don't have good armor, they're not going to have good melee defense, melee attack, weapon strength, they're not good at that. But they can avert damage and make sure that more powerful and important units like damage dealers like Death Runners or Rat Ogres or Warp Fire Throwers and Poison Wind Globadiers get to where they need to be and snipe the things that they need to snipe. So, we're going to be showing you 3 different factions that have not poison wind globadiers, that have meat shields, and show you how to use meat shields in all of those races. So the first one is Skaven. Skaven are renowned for just throwing waves and waves and waves and waves of meat shields at you. Expendable Skaven slaves or clan rats that just don't really matter. And then having a couple of really strong units deal most of the damage while you're just bogged down by so many Skaven slaves. These things have a pretty wide unit, so they have a lot of models in them, right? You've got 72 Death Runners, well you got 180 Skaven slaves. So they have a lot of models that can die, a lot of hit points that can soak up damage from more important things like our Death Runners or Rat Ogres, right? These things got 9,000 hit points. Warp Fire Throwers have 4,000. Same with the Globadiers, and then the Rat Ogres and Death Runners are just a little bit more tanky. So, here's what we got. We got a Dwarf Force on the other side, which means they're going to play a defensive battle, which means I need to get to them. And I want to make sure that my Death Runners, Rat Ogres, and weapon teams make it there completely unharmed. So what we're going to do is use these Skaven slaves as a meat wall, because they are a meat shield. So what you can do is literally just have them be a shield and have your units running up from behind them. And then when your units get there, they'll be there in one piece. So a little trick that I like to use is grouping your units, or if you use Alt and hold down left mouse button, you can move your forces up and they will stay in the formation that they relied in. But if you also just group lock, which is Control G on hotkeys, it'll help out with making sure that everything stays how you want it to. So, we're going to have a Dwarf Force on the other side of this hill. They've got a couple of Quarrelers and a unit of artillery. This is a very basic demonstration. Obviously, they're going to have scarier units, and I'm probably going to have scarier units, right? I'll hopefully have a wizard in this army, some different types of weapons teams, or more weapons teams, and possibly a couple more Rat Ogres, especially if I'm playing as Clan Boulder. So as soon as we're getting on top of this hill, we're going to hopefully get into some sight range of the enemy, and we can see them start to shoot our Skaven slaves, and they will soak up the damage for us. Another great thing about Skaven slaves and other expendable units is they're going to most likely be an expendable unit, which means friendly units won't suffer any leadership penalties from getting shot, which is very, very good, because we don't want our little guys to get shot. So we are going to send little orders out and charge these Skaven slaves up. But as you can see, we do have a very nice little showing that these Skaven slaves are taking a broad majority of damage. Also, it's very great that we can target these enemy units and kind of just shoot our own units up, and it won't really matter, because these Skaven slave units are very, very good at soaking up damage and making sure that we just don't really matter. They generally have a really good casualty replenishment rate as well, which is very nice. And we can have quite a few little shenanigans that we pull. Let's get over there and block this guy up. We got some warp fire throws that should be going around. I didn't manage this amazingly, but that's okay. So we got our poison wind mortars back. We're going to throw some bullets into the dwarf warriors. Also, Skaven always come back, which is a great thing about them. They have really poor leadership stats, but that means that they'll get their leadership back and charge right back into melee, getting to do the damage again or soak up where they need to soak up. Now you can see that my Death Runners are finally in combat, my Warp Fire Throwers are popping off, and we're going to have a lot of our damage doing damage now, which is exactly what we wanted to see, right? We did lose that unit of Rat Ogres temporarily, but they will come back and they will hammer down on the enemy units. At least, hopefully. Alright. Our Death Runners should not be in melee combat with some Dwarf Warriors. It's not what I want to see happen. So again, we got 2 units of Skaven Slaves to rout again, or rally again, and they will come back and deal some damage where it needs to be done. Let's get this unit out of here because I don't exactly want that unit taking all of our damage. I'd rather have other things taking our damage. And again, these are just Skaven Slaves that are getting melted by the Warp Fire Throwers. They're just meant to be there to soak up a whole bunch of the damage, right? They're doing a good job about that. My Death Runners haven't really lost anyone. My Rat Ogres have taken a little bit of damage, but not a ton. So we're doing pretty good at this. Our Lord is kind of getting beaten up, but that's alright. We can't really handle that for the most part. Those Globadiers are good now, so we can target those Dwarf Warriors that are charging us, because it's never good to be charged. And overall, we are doing pretty good. These 2 units just rallied, so we can get them over here. We can shoot up these Dwarf Warriors. Get back, charge down the things that are rallying for them. And we will be in pretty good shape for the rest of this battle. And now, as you can see, the balance of power that was once even is now completely in our favor, and we are doing a very good job at eradicating the enemy dwarf stunties. So that was army loss penalties, and that is the first faction that we get to look at with Skavens. So you've got a lot of Skaven Slaves. They are going to get annihilated in almost every single battle you fight, but if we look at the Warp Fire Throwers, they didn't lose a lot. The Poison Wind Globadiers lost quite a few hit points, but they didn't lose that many models. Same with the Death Runners, they didn't lose a lot of models. They lost a little bit of hit points, and the Rat Ogres only lost 3 models, even though they lost over like 2/4 of their health, or 2/3 of their health. And the enemy force is completely annihilated thanks to our weapons teams and high damage dealing units. Now our next example has the Dwarf Bane of Existence, Orcs. Orcs don't necessarily have a quote-unquote meat shield unit. However, goblins with spears or just regular old goblins are, in my opinion, a meat shield. They are expendable, they are very easy to recruit, they have lots of casualty replenishment rate, and they do pretty poorly in melee damage when unbuffed. Now, Grom goblins are top tier units, but regular goblins in a Orc Warboss army that's not meant for buffing goblins are not going to be doing much. They've got lots of units with 160 models in every unit. They have an okay spread of models because of that, and they do have around 9,000 health, same as the Skaven Slaves. Good thing, they do have shields, which is basically they'll block 35% of any small arms fire, hitting them from the front. Very good, that'll make them a little bit more durable. They do have more armor than the Skaven Slaves, that'll make them more durable, but they are a little bit more expensive, which maybe means that they're not a meat shield. However, I still count them as a meat shield. They're expendable little gobos. So let's get into this battle. We're going to charge our units forth and go kill those stunties. Now again, it's a good thing to group lock your units, just so that everything's going up at the same speed, right? I've got a Squig Herd in there. These guys are anti-infantry damage dealers. They're going to be really, really good, but they will go crazy if they do get shot. I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to make sure that they don't get shot, putting them in the back, and hopefully these gobos will take up all of the damage. I also have some Black Orcs with great weapons, which means I'm basically going to win this battle no matter what, because they don't really have anything to deal with that. And these are high armor piercing, damage dealing units with lots of armor, lots of hit points, top tier units. And then I have some Night Goblins with Fanatics, mainly for the spinning loons. These guys aren't amazing at doing loads and loads of damage within melee. However, they are really good at dealing damage with those spinning loons. So I do have them in there. And I do have a couple of videos about Fanatics and how to use those properly. They're pretty cool videos, so go check those out. Alright, so as we can see, they are shooting the goblins, which is very nice. This is what we want to see. And we are going to charge in and engage the foe. Now, I'm going to try and get the Fanatics and Squig Herd around to get to the Quarrelers and guys like that. Hopefully, I can also hit the dudes in the back with a little spinning loon. These things are immensely powerful. You're going to see how much they just chop through these Dwarf Warriors. Oh, don't get there, don't get there. So as you can see, those Dwarf Warriors got absolutely hammered already. And now my Squig Herd is going to get in there. We'll pop a Wasp, so they'll do even more damage. And we'll absolutely annihilate these units. We're going to make sure that the Grudge Throwers stop doing damage. It's really important to kill artillery units. And then move on to more important units as soon as they are off the artillery, right? So you can see that they're off the artillery. Their number of models went insanely high up, from 4 to 31. So that means that it's time to send in the Squig Herd to something else. Oh, my Squig Herd is going to get mangled. So we can see that these Quarrelers are now going to take loads and loads of damage. These guys did too, and the Squig Herd will mop those guys up. Hopefully our Fanatics can also mop up the enemy. We got the Squig Herd to kill that unit, and this entire flank is about to collapse, which is very good, because now we can charge in, get to the back ranks of enemy Quarrelers and whatnot, which is exactly what we want to do with a hack smash army like Orcs, is crush through a part of the front line, get the front line around to surround the enemy, and absolutely hammer the enemy force. I do have one more of these. I don't really have a great spot to put it, so I'm just going to put it out here. Did cause those guys to rout, which was nice, which means I have less units I need to worry about. I can go kill those Dwarf Warriors if I need to. We'll make sure that these guys don't come back. And voila, we have a pretty close to done battle here. Now in terms of damage, you can see that again our goblins with spears took most of the damage. The Squig Herd did take a little bit. They kind of got wrecked by my own spinning loons, and a little bit of just they don't have a really good melee attack or melee defense. But they do have, Squigs Go Wild, they do have loads and loads of damage and a good bonus versus infantry. So when you are popping against infantry, you are really, really good. We're about to pop off with another wall soon, which will be nice. And we've got a couple of units that are coming back for more. We'll go crush them. So this battle is basically over. Army loss penalties should be coming in soon. As soon as I rout these two units, it'll probably be just completely over for the enemy. especially if we can do a little bit more damage on this Lord, who hasn't taken really any damage, but he is becoming exhausted, which is very nice. It'll make him a lot easier to kill, and the battle will be ours. We sent the squigs after the quarrelers. It's really important to have your low melee defense unit killing things like quarrelers who don't have a high melee attack, right? They've got a melee attack of 15, so I've got a pretty good chance of not getting hit with these damage dealers. We want our damage dealers to stay alive and deal even more damage. Alright, we'll go take out those grudge throwers really quick. We'll probably go after these dwarf warriors because they're about to come back. And that was army loss penalties right there. So another victory using those tactics where we've got our goblins taking the broad side of damage. They did have shields, so they were better in this scenario of getting shot. And we can see that these black orcs didn't lose a single model. These guys lost a couple, but they are goblins, so they are kind of going to take a bit of damage, right? They don't have a great melee defense or melee attack. We're mostly bringing them in for the loons. The squig herd is a glass cannon unit, so they, of course, were going to take a lot of damage. And these black orcs took a little bit of damage, but not that much overall. So, time for the third and final. Now our third and final army is the Vampire Counts. These things have an insane meat shield called zombies. Zombies have the great ability of already being dead, so they're really hard to kill again. These things have no stats. Their melee attack is 5. Their melee defense is 6. They have a charge bonus of 3. They are not going to hit anything. They are going to get hit by everything. But they have a wonderful 12,000 hit points on every single unit, and we can bring these units in for 100 gold each. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of zombies is 500 gold, and that is a lot of hit points, which means a lot of soaking up of damage. We will take a lot of damage, but we are going to be doing insanely well. On top of this, the Invocation and the Heck heals 0.8% health per second, meaning popping them on things like zombies is going to heal them more intensely than popping them on Cane Wraiths or Crypt Whores, because they simply have less health. Now, we're going to charge up with this army and show the immense killing power and taking kill power of these zombies and things like Cane Wraiths, Crypt Ghouls, and Graveguard with great weapons. Now, the 4 units I have, which are damage dealing units, I do have a unit of Skeleton Warriors. These are just shielded meat shields with slightly better stats. They cost about 300 gold each, which makes them a little bit above my standard price point. I'd rather have 3 more units of zombies generally, but for this idea, I kind of just wanted to throw in a unit of Skeleton Warriors. So, the units I did pick are high damage armor piercing units. Okay, Cane Wraiths have 0 base weapon damage. They have 44 armor piercing damage, meaning everything that they hit will take damage. They also have magical attacks, so things with physical resistances don't matter. They do have a massive physical resistance on top of that, and okay melee stats. Now, as you can see, we just lost a lot of zombies there. But that's okay, because we can heal them. Crypt Ghouls have regeneration and lots of armor-piercing damage. They're also equipped with poison attacks, which means that they will take a lot less damage as they hit things. Now we got the little skelly boys getting shot, and what we are going to do is we have a bigger front line than them, which is always a wonderful thing for us, because that means we get to simply just go around them. We can walk around their entire army, take a couple of guys, pin them down, and we should just win this battle. Alright. We can put those guys in melee. We're going to get the Cane Wraiths around to hit up these Quarrelers. Go flirt with them a little. And hopefully these guys will stay intact before they get to there, because it would really suck if they took a lot of damage. Now, the strategy with Vampire Counts is, as long as your units are not dying too hard and they're able to live again, you're going to be able to survive. You do also have summons, which are very nice. You can pop down a summon, trap a lord like I just did. And overall, you'll be doing pretty hot. Let's get these grudge throwers because they can do a lot of damage to my units. And we will absolutely annihilate things with our really hard-hitting infantry and monstrous beasts. So these Cryptors, again, have regeneration. We don't need to spend our healing to help them out. We should be helping our skeleton warriors and zombies. These guys also don't have an amazing leadership, so if you can keep your lord by them, that's really good because they are an undead unit, meaning that they will just crumble down into nothingness as your leadership goes down, which is very, very bad. As you can see, this unit is crumbling, so I'm healing them while they're dying. Hopefully they just live long enough to not die. Now we can see our elite units have taken basically 0 damage. I've lost 2 models out of them, and they've done pretty good damage. The Cane Wraiths have killed almost 100. The Cryptors have killed solid 40, 30 with the Graveguard, and 18 with these Graveguards that just got into melee. Now this is a slightly slower pace of battle because you just have so many like low damage units where you're gonna just be healing them and hopefully they survive long enough, and then hopefully your damage dealers are gonna actually do the damage that they need to do, and everything can just take a hot second to do because your units will just be so squishy and they don't prioritize melee attack. They prioritize having a lot of hit points, especially with things like these zombies. Now I do need to make sure that my lord doesn't get absolutely hammered. That's a very easy thing for these necromancer lords to have happen to them. We're going to try and keep that skeleton warrior unit alive. Maybe try and go scare those dudes a little. And we are finally dealing quite a bit of damage to these enemy units, and hopefully we will be able to evade that enemy lord, because it will really suck if we get crushed by him. As you can see, he can do a lot of damage potential. Alright, so these skeleton warriors are still crumbling. We're going to try and get them to stay alive for a little bit longer, and maybe intercept that lord while we hammer down the rest of their units. And get a little bit of healing in, because we will definitely need that healing. So as you can see, the broad force of my assault, which was our zombies, are pretty much destroyed now. These guys have basically no hit points. They did literally no damage. They killed 3 people. And all in all, we got absolutely obliterated. This unit of zombies will crumble to death. This unit of zombies will crumble to death. This unit of skeleton warriors somehow are still alive, which is very nice. But if we look overall at our damage that we took with our elite units, we've got a Graveguard that lost 10 models, another Graveguard that lost about 40 models, which is pretty good. Graveguard aren't crazy good units. They're tier 2 guys. Your monstrous beasts and things like Cane Wraiths, you just don't have amazing models in the army roster of the vampire counts. But what you do have is the ability to heal and bring models back from the dead. So as soon as I hit enough healing, then I'll start to bring models back, which is why I haven't ended this battle. It's really important for you to sit at the end of your battles, because you can get a lot of your force back, right? If you're going to have guys crumble to death, like these zombies are crumbling to death, that's not good. Are these guys crumbling to death? No, but both of these guys are. That's fine, because the more units that you lose in this fight, the more units you'll gain actually, which is really neat. So these guys will crumble down. You'll have a higher casualty battle, which is really good for you, because you'll just get even more guys back and possibly more important units. Oh, those guys died. That's fine though, because as you can see, we now have 110, 106, so we only lost 14. Full health with this unit. 1 person died in here, and just our really useless meat shields, which is exactly what we want to happen in these battles, like I've been saying. over and over and over again. We want these guys to be doing the damage. We want the meat shields to die. And they did that. They did a really good job at not doing any damage, but dying. So, that's the battle. As you can see, our force is completely obliterated in terms of our zombies. But their force is also completely obliterated. They've got 167 guys left, and we probably have that in zombies still. Also, these zombies have a chance of coming back to life as soon as you've done a battle. You have the Dead Rise again in the campaign, which really helps out making sure that your meat shields don't have to be re-recruited. Chances are, though, I could probably re-recruit those zombies for basically no gold. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you found this really entertaining and learned a lot from this, how to use your meat shields instead of just charging a whole bunch of them into a battle. Hopefully they do some damage, because as you see, these zombies don't do any damage. They stayed there for a very long time, but they didn't do any damage. You need things like these Cane Wraiths and Graveguard and Crypt Cores to do all of your damage, and these zombies are literally meant to die. Meat shields are there to die. They're here to soak up the damage, they're here to die, and they do a really good job at that, right? You can see how much kills these Dwarf Warriors got, but in the grand scheme of things, they only did about 300 gold worth, 200 gold worth, 200 gold worth. So they're not getting the high value kills that we are getting. We're getting 1600 gold worth, 400 gold worth, 500 gold worth, and 700 gold worth. Meaning these units are doing their job and the enemy units aren't doing their job, which is exactly what we use these meat shields for. They're really cheap, and actually it is more beneficial to have a couple of meat shields in your army than just a whole bunch of really high-end units, because you can have more armies if you have less quality units, right? You'll get more quality with just having more units to have on the battlefield, soak up your damage, and that way you're not using Graveguard as a meat shield, right? It'd suck for these high damage output units to just die and not get to do anything. Also, they're really hard to recruit. If you're not in your local province, it's hard to get them with Raise the Dead. So overall, just use zombies, use goblins, use orc laborers or goblin laborers for the chaos dwarves. Use your Skaven tactics with just hordes and hordes and hordes of Skaven slaves or clan rats with a couple of really high damage units, and you'll win a lot more battles. That's it for this one again. I hope to see you in the future.